In the sprawling, sun-baked landscapes of Sudan, a humanitarian crisis of immense scale has been unfolding, largely out of the global spotlight. Since April 2023, the conflict between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces has claimed thousands of lives, displaced millions, and pushed the nation to the brink of collapse. Yet, as the catastrophe deepens, questions are being raised about the international community's response, particularly that of the United Kingdom. Critics point to what they perceive as a troubling inaction, suggesting that other diplomatic and commercial considerations may have taken precedence over the urgent need to address mass atrocities. At the heart of a recent parliamentary inquiry lies a grave accusation that the United Kingdom prioritized its strategic relationship with the United Arab Emirates over actively working to avert mass atrocities in Sudan. This is not merely a question of diplomatic oversight, but of fundamental foreign policy choices and their human cost. MPs are now poised to hear evidence suggesting that the UK's engagement with a key Gulf ally may have led to a critical blind spot, impacting its capacity and willingness to confront an unfolding humanitarian disaster in East Africa. The stakes are immense, both for the people of Sudan and for the UK's global standing. The Foreign Affairs Committee in the UK Parliament has launched a rigorous investigation into these claims. The committee, tasked with scrutinising the government's foreign policy, is hearing from a range of witnesses, including experts, diplomats, and humanitarian organisations. Their testimonies are crucial in understanding the complex interplay of international relations, economic interests, and moral obligations. This inquiry aims to determine if the pursuit of commercial and diplomatic ties with a powerful regional player like the UAE led to the UK sidelining its commitment to human rights and atrocity prevention in Sudan, creating what some describe as a double standard in its foreign policy approach. To grasp the gravity of the allegations, one must first understand the devastating reality on the ground in Sudan. The conflict erupted in April 2023 between the regular Sudanese armed forces, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, commanded by General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti. This power struggle quickly spiraled into widespread violence, targeting civilians. Reports from human rights groups, confirmed by United Nations officials, detail indiscriminate bombings, sexual violence, and ethnically motivated killings, particularly in the Darfur region, reminiscent of the genocide 2 decades ago. The humanitarian needs are dire, with millions facing acute food insecurity and a collapsed healthcare system. The United Kingdom and the United Arab Emirates share a deep and multifaceted strategic partnership. This relationship extends across economic, security, and diplomatic spheres. The UAE is a significant trade partner and a major investor in the UK, with bilateral trade valued in the tens of billions of pounds annually. From renewable energy projects to advanced technology collaborations, the ties are extensive. Furthermore, both nations cooperate on regional security issues, counter-terrorism efforts, and intelligence sharing. This close alignment, while strategically beneficial, forms the backdrop against which the current allegations regarding Sudan are being examined, raising questions about whether this partnership influenced the UK's posture. The nature of the UK-UAE relationship means that both nations wield considerable financial and diplomatic influence. The UAE's role as a regional economic powerhouse and a key player in Middle Eastern diplomacy makes it an indispensable partner for the UK. This interdependence creates a complex dynamic, where criticism of one ally by the other can carry significant geopolitical and economic repercussions. Experts suggest that this leverage might have played a role in the UK's perceived reluctance to openly challenge the UAE, particularly regarding its alleged involvement in the Sudanese conflict, highlighting the difficult balance between national interests and moral imperatives. Central to the parliamentary inquiry are allegations regarding the UAE's involvement in the Sudanese conflict, specifically its purported support for the Rapid Support Forces. Numerous reports from independent experts and investigative journalists, though often denied by the UAE, suggest a flow of financial and military aid to the RSF. This alleged support is believed to have played a significant role in escalating the conflict and enabling the RSF's perpetration of atrocities, particularly in Darfur. If proven, the UK's close ties with the UAE, coupled with its perceived silence on these allegations, would suggest a stark misalignment between stated values and practical foreign policy. During the Foreign Affairs Committee hearings, compelling evidence has been brought forward. Witnesses, including Dr. Alex de Waal, a leading expert on Sudan, have reportedly testified about the UAE's alleged activities. While the specific details remain under parliamentary privilege in some instances, the public testimonies have painted a picture of consistent, albeit covert, support for the RSF. This includes logistical aid and intelligence sharing, which is said to have bolstered the RSF's military capacity. These claims, from credible sources, challenge the UK government to articulate its stance on its allies' alleged actions and explain its own perceived lack of robust condemnation. The allegations of UAE support for the RSF carry particular weight given the RSF's origins in the notorious Janjaweed militias, responsible for genocidal violence in Darfur 2 decades ago. The atrocities now unfolding in Darfur, including ethnically targeted killings, bear chilling resemblances to the past. Critics argue that any nation providing aid to the RSF, directly or indirectly, becomes complicit in these renewed horrors. The UK, having historically condemned the Janjaweeds' actions, now faces scrutiny over its apparent muted response to the RSF's current campaign, especially in the context of its close ties with the UAE. This moral conundrum is at the core of the parliamentary debate. The UK government maintains that it is deeply concerned by the conflict in Sudan and is actively engaged in diplomatic efforts to promote peace and provide humanitarian assistance. Officials typically emphasize their commitment to international law and human rights, asserting that they use their influence with all partners to encourage de-escalation and accountability. However, the Foreign Affairs Committee's investigation seeks to determine if these stated policies are genuinely being applied, particularly in cases where they might conflict with strategic economic or diplomatic relationships. The discrepancy between official statements and perceived inaction is a key point of contention for many observers and parliamentarians. The inquiry highlights a fundamental challenge in international relations: how nations navigate the complex web of alliances when allies are accused of actions that contradict international norms. While the UK government has avoided direct public condemnation of the UAE's alleged role, official sources and diplomatic circles privately acknowledge the sensitivity of the situation. Some argue that a quiet diplomatic approach is more effective in influencing allies, while critics contend that such an approach amounts to complicity, particularly when mass atrocities are occurring. This divergence of opinion underscores the difficult balancing act between maintaining alliances and upholding ethical principles. Regardless of the diplomatic intricacies, the immediate and devastating consequence of perceived inaction or misprioritization is borne by the Sudanese people. Millions are now internally displaced or have fled across borders, creating immense refugee crises in neighboring countries. The UN reports that over half of Sudan's population, approximately 25 million people, require humanitarian assistance. Food shortages, lack of access to clean water, and the collapse of healthcare facilities mean that preventable diseases and starvation are rampant. For aid organizations on the ground, the lack of robust international intervention directly translates into more suffering and death, amplifying calls for genuine global leadership. The geopolitical ramifications of these alleged double standards extend beyond Sudan. If the UK is perceived to be prioritizing commercial ties over human rights, it risks undermining its credibility on the international stage. This could weaken its ability to advocate for democratic values and human rights in other global conflicts. Furthermore, it could embolden authoritarian regimes and set a dangerous precedent, suggesting that economic leverage can shield actors from accountability for atrocities. This erosion of trust could have long-term consequences for the UK's diplomatic influence and its role as a moral voice in global affairs. The protracted conflict in Sudan, fueled by external support and international inaction, contributes significantly to regional instability across the Horn of Africa and the Sahel. The flow of refugees, arms, and illicit goods destabilizes neighboring countries already grappling with their own challenges. The breakdown of state authority in Sudan creates fertile ground for extremist groups and criminal networks, posing a security threat far beyond its borders. The failure to decisively address the crisis not only prolongs suffering within Sudan but also exports instability, creating a complex web of interconnected conflicts that will demand far greater resources and intervention in the future. The parliamentary inquiry is, therefore, more than just an investigation into past actions. It is a critical opportunity for the UK to re-evaluate its foreign policy priorities. It poses fundamental questions about the balance between economic interests, strategic alliances, and moral obligations in an increasingly complex world. Moving forward, parliamentarians and the public alike will be looking for clear commitments from the government to ensure that the prevention of mass atrocities and the promotion of human rights are consistently at the forefront of its international engagements, even when it means challenging close allies. Transparency and accountability are paramount. Ultimately, the findings of the Foreign Affairs Committee will lay bare the extent to which the UK's diplomatic and commercial priorities shaped its response to the crisis in Sudan. It will test the government's commitment to its stated values and its willingness to hold itself, and its allies, accountable. For the millions of Sudanese people caught in a devastating conflict, the outcome of this inquiry offers a glimmer of hope that their plight will no longer be overlooked due to geopolitical maneuvering. True leadership, many argue, requires moral courage, the courage to act, even when it comes at a cost to strategic relationships.